Have you ever wondered if the plans God says He has for you will ever come to pass? So many of us have waited long on God's plans of prosperity and good, and are yet to see that result. Can we trust God's plans? I too have waited years, even decades, for His plans to succeed in my life. There are days when it is difficult to understand, but I have learnt to trust that His plans do come through, and it was worth the wait. His plans are always better than what I could ever plan for myself. God's plans for you will always be the best plan. God has the power to do more than you can do. When we make plans, do we consult God about these plans? When we take a wife or husband, do we ask God about our choices? When we make a choice for career, do we consult Him in the decisions for our lives? He has a plan for us that is only good. Our plans might look good now. But what about the future? Can you truly say the marriage will last? Or the career choice will lead to success? Only God knows the future, and His plans cover both the present and the future. How can we, as human beings, be certain our plans will succeed beyond what we can see? The Bible says in Jeremiah 29:11, "For I know the plans I have for you, declares the Lord, plans to prosper you and not to harm you, plans to give you hope and a future." Do you trust God to carry out His plans for your life? Or are we like Sarah and Abraham, who received the word from God but charted their own destiny? Sarah and Abraham were given a promise for a child, but waited for years on God's plans to happen. Sarah decided that God must have forgotten or perhaps changed His mind about giving them a child since they were now old. So she took the plan into her own hands and gave her servant Hagar to Abraham. Genesis 16. Hagar bore a child, but both Sarah, Abraham, Hagar, and their son Ishmael's world was turned upside down. Even to early 2025, Ishmael, the son of Hagar, became the father of the Arab-Palestinian nation. After Abraham and Sarah had forgotten the promise of God for a son from Sarah, God again came when they were very old and gave them the promise again. Both Sarah and Abraham were now extremely old. Abraham was 100 years old, and Sarah was 90 years old when Isaac was born. Genesis 17 and 21. Like Sarah and Abraham, God gave them a promised plan for wealth and for a great innumerable generation, but they chose to make their own plans, and that plan turned their own lives upside down. Today, the Palestinians and the Israelites, children of Ishmael and Isaac, half-brothers, children of Abraham, are still fighting in the Gaza and Jerusalem war that is just ended. Why? Abraham and Sarah took the plans from God and made their own plan, which turned out disastrously. When we decide to make our own plans and follow them, we can never determine the end result. The outcome of our plans is never fully known, as we do not have the foresight to see beyond today. God alone knows the full story. He alone can see the future. When Adam and Eve ate the forbidden fruit in Genesis 3, they never could have imagined the effect it would have on the entire world. Things might be joyful or feel good today in our plans, but unless God sanctions and directs that plan, it will be like a house beautifully built on sand. When God carries out His plans for our lives, hard as the waiting period might be, that plan will succeed no matter what. We ourselves create chaos in our own lives. God says, "I know the plans I have for you." Let God carry out His plans. Ask for directions. Ask for patience to wait on His timing. Do not use your own hands to turn your life upside down. even when God's plans seem to go contrary to life and to human thoughts. Let God be God. Trust and obey his plans for you. Do not turn your life upside down like Abraham and Sarah with your own wisdom. God says the wisdom of man is foolishness. It is because we never know the outcome. As you wait on God to fulfill his plans, remember, nothing is impossible with God. Abraham was 100 years old. His reproductive system was as dead as a doornail. Sarah, at 90 years old, had no working womb and no live eggs with which to produce a child. We would have laughed them to death if they came and told us they were expecting to have a child at that age. But God told them, "Is there anything too hard for God?" I want you to remember this text found in Genesis 18:11-14. Abraham and Sarah were already very old, and Sarah was past the age of childbearing. So Sarah laughed to herself as she thought, "After I am worn out and my Lord is old, will I now have this pleasure?" Then the Lord said to Abraham, "Why did Sarah laugh and say, 'Will I really have a child now that I am old?' Is there anything too hard for the Lord?" Genesis 18:14. I will return to you at the appointed time next year, and Sarah will have a son. Even when your dreams seem dead, like Sarah's womb, remember that God can do anything. He can bring your dreams to pass even in your old age. Let God take the lead in your life, and his plans will prosper you, do you good and not harm. Have faith and trust him that he knows the best way, the best time, and the best plan for your life. Continue to pray, trust, believe, and study the word. We cannot stand in faith unless we know the word. Faith comes by hearing, reading the word. Faith's only ground to stand on is the word. Build your faith. Pray before you make any decision. Ask God to direct your steps in the direction that is best for you, and wait for God's plans for your life. Habakkuk 2:3 says, "For the vision is yet for an appointed time, but at the end it shall speak and not lie. Though it tarry, wait for it, because it will surely come, it will not tarry. Though it seems to tarry, it will be on time." Wait for God's plans for your life. It will be better than any plan you can make for yourself. He will cause all things to work out for good. Trust God. He has a plan to prosper you, to do you good and not harm. As you struggle to wait on his plans to be realized in your life, remember, God sees the complete puzzle of life better than you can. He will put the pieces in the right place to give you the very best outcome, to prosper you and do you good. Hold on. He might take long, but he is always on time.